Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, and thank you for stopping by. All right, guys, I have returned from my visit. I am back in the war wagon, and it cannot come a moment too soon for me to bring you this story. Now, we've talked about a lot on this channel about the idea that the subjective nature and subjective standard of a sheriff or an organization to decide if you have the right or need to own a firearm or concealed carry is something that infringes upon Second Amendment rights. When you put a subjective standard applied by a third party, they have the ability to deny you based on whatever reason they want. But what I'm going to show you today is two, not one, two California sheriffs who are actually going into trial being accused by a grand jury of being pay-for-play for concealed carry rights. So for example, well, you want this concealed carry permit? Well, it's my subjective standard, so I'm going to need you to make a donation over here. Ooh, I know you, so that's a political favor. This is why constitutional rights are not up for subjective interpretation. Everything is going to be linked in the description box below, and send this one out because this is a perfect example of why gun control should not be subjective in the way that it's in California and even in North Carolina. Like I said, everything is linked. I'm going to say a quick word from our returning sponsor, SDI, and I cannot wait to hear what you guys think of this one. Now, I know a lot of you out there like to repair and upgrade your own guns. And if you're looking for a way to take your hobby to the next level, Sonoran Desert Institute can help. The online programs at SDI cover armor courses, gunsmithing, ballistics, woodworking and finishes, shooting sports management, and more. Plus, all the tools and materials get shipped directly to your door. There's never been a better time to get involved with a skill that you can actually use on the job, so what are you waiting for? There's a link in the description box below, and thank you again to SDI for returning as a sponsor for this week's videos. But my brothers and sisters, we have got to dive into this because this is an incredibly important example of why we fight for our rights every single day, and we will pass the blessing of the Second Amendment along to the next generation. If you're new, we'd love to have you subscribe, join the fold. We need to get information out as quickly as possible, and thank you in advance for your consideration. Let's get it. As California starts over on concealed gun law, another sheriff faces permitting questions. They're facing permitting questions. Here's some catch up. California has been hailed as a model for gun laws by those who favor tough restrictions. But the Golden State's effort to limit who can carry a concealed weapon in public has looked more like a misfire. Yeah, it's a constitutional misfire. Again, you're placing the rights behind a subjective opinion and standard, which is available for corruption. All right, check this out. Since the U.S. Supreme Court in June ruled the state's concealed carry gun laws run afoul of the Second Amendment to the right to bear arms, California lawmakers have tried and failed to pass an alternative. We've covered that, but that's not what this is about. This part right here. In the meantime, a second sheriff now faces questions about whether favoritism influenced who got licensed to pack heat, fueling perceptions the state's rules were not only unconstitutional, but also recipes for corruption. Of course they're recipes for corruption. That is a political official, and they are now putting their subjective interpretation of your availability for rights behind what they want. This is rife for corruption, which is why constitutional carry is such a boon for our rights, because it's not behind a subjective standard. Like I said, North Carolina does it too. It's not just California. But let's keep going. As Santa Clara County Sheriff Lori Smith faces trial later this month on charges of tying concealed carry weapon permits, or CCWs, to political favors and donations, similar questions now swirl around Los Angeles County Sheriff Alex Villanueva. Meanwhile, anxious lawmakers are attempting to do over the licensing rules. So those are two sheriffs, elected political positions, that now are in Democrat-controlled cities and in areas. Isn't that interesting that the subjective nature was different from there to other states or other counties? Check this out. It walks you through the entire thing. It's linked. At issue is a long-established system in California and a handful of other mostly Democrat-run states that had aimed at tamping down gun violence by making it illegal for most people to carry guns in public, even though they're legal law-abiding citizens, which, let's get past that point. Those states said sheriffs and police chiefs may issue permits to carry a gun if they decide an applicant has a good reason. Again, subjective standard in nature applied to individuals with their rights. Okay, it's kind of like, it's the equivalent of saying, yeah, you can vote today because I think you have a good reason. Bad. Let's keep going. But California's concealed gun permit rules were unevenly administered. No, stop, aghast. In about half the state's counties, typically urban and politically liberal, police chiefs and sheriffs have made them hard to get, while in rural and conservative counties, they have issued them more freely, which leads to a disproportionate effect on rights across the state of California, or any state for this matter. This gets to the crux of the entire problem. I've said it a few times in this video. When you put a subjective standard across rights, you're going to get an uneven distribution of rights across a state, a region, a locality. This is something that cannot stand solely for the constitutional right aspect, not even to mention all the other infringements and corruption. But let's keep going. I got one more thing for you. A civic grand jury in December alleged Smith leveraged her control over the permits for political favors. The Los Angeles Times reported September 15th that among the thousands of people who got concealed carry weapon permits under Villanueva were dozens of his campaign donors and others with ties to the sheriff. Well, who would have thought? And that's what I've got for you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments field below, and I will see you tonight on tonight's episode. I'm Braden. See you later.